This is Philadelphia Eagles Now. My name is Chase Sr., another loaded show coming your way. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button, by the way. Anytime I'm in front of a camera, on a microphone, I want to give you Eagles coverage that is insightful, informative, entertaining, thought-provoking, where you have a voice. So if all that sounds great, join the movement. Let's grow the empire. Lock us in and subscribe. Coming up here on the show, we have some good news to get to, some bad news to get to, and also a major ESPN report on the current state of the Birds. And let's begin here to try to be the voice of reason for all Eagles fans out there. You know, I grew up in the Philadelphia area. I know how this fan base gets. I'm a part of it. And I want to give some people some positivity here. The good with the Eagles. They're starting slow this year. Remember they started slow last year as well, and everybody wanted Nick Sirianni fired going into the Week 5 bye. Even when they came out of that Week 5 bye, they barely beat Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. They didn't find their stride until Week 7. What week are we about to embark on? Week 7. So the Eagles team got it together at about this point last year. They can do the same this year. And if you also remember, it wasn't just the offense that was bad for the first month and a half of the 2024 season. This defense wasn't great either. And coming out of that Week 5 bye, guess who got the start in Week 6, which really started that defensive turnaround? Cooper DeJean. And so this offense and defense evolved a year ago. They can evolve this year. I believe in this coaching staff. I also believe that the roster talent is there because the Eagles have the best general manager in football. He's had some misses, but you know going into the deadline, Howie, if the Eagles are in it, if they think they can compete, he's going to make moves to bulk up this roster. We have also seen flashes from this Eagles team. It's so crazy to me, and I'll get to this here in a moment, how people talk about the Eagles compared to the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills have beaten some awful teams this year. Whereas all the Eagles have done, they've beaten quality opponents. Dallas Cowboys, Kansas City Chiefs, Los Angeles Rams, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Yet, I tweeted this out the other day. Everybody wants to just get on their hands and knees for Josh Allen and praise him as though he's Jesus. Mike Greenberg on ESPN the other week said he's the best thrower of the football that we've ever seen. How about these Buffalo Bills? Beat the 1-5 Ravens, beat the 0-6 Jets, beat the 1-5 Dolphins, struggled against the 1-5 Saints at home, lost to the 4-2 Patriots, lost to the 3-2 Falcons. So, look, during the course of an NFL year, you're not going to dominate from start to finish. That wasn't the case last year when the Eagles had one of the best seasons and best rosters in the history of the National Football League. So, we've seen the flashes. Now it's about doing it for a full game and doing it more consistently. And a lot of people are scared that the 2025 Eagles could be the 2023 Eagles, and we have a major ESPN report to hit on that particular topic coming up here toward the end of the show. But I will say this, that Eagles defense in 2023 was a nightmare. And Vic Fangio is not Sean Desai or Matt Patricia, and the talent and personnel on defense is much better than that year. And I like some of the buzz around the Eagles building this week and what Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, Saquon Barkley, and others have all said about the Eagles' approach, the conversations that they've had, and how they're approaching this Week 7 game against Minnesota and what they've done during this mini bye. The Eagles have had productive meetings. They've said that they've figured some things out. They've identified some of their flaws and weaknesses. And this is what's important. People have taken accountability. And it is kind of crazy that the Eagles don't get the benefit of the doubt. They're one of the most well-run organizations in the game. Since the turn of the century in 2000, they've been one of the best organizations in the game. And this particular Eagles core has shown us before that they can make adjustments in season and improve. And going back to that Bills point, it's crazy how both teams are talked about in the national media. Everybody's going to suck off Josh Allen, and they're going to throw Jalen Hurts in the trash can. The Eagles the last 2 weeks, 0-2, averaging 17 points per game, averaging on offense, I should say, 5.7 yards per play. Isn't this crazy? The Bills the last 2 weeks, 0-2, 17 points per game, 5.7 yards per play. Identical numbers. Yet one team is talked about much different than the other, and this goes back to the benefit of the doubt conversation. I tweeted this out, took off, 335,000 views. Give me a follow on X, at Chase_Senior. We're popping off over there. The Eagles are 4-2, defending Super Bowl champions, and have suffered 2 losses in a row. The Bills are 4-2, have never won a Super Bowl, and have suffered 2 ugly losses in a row. But the conversation around the Bills this week, much softer and a lot nicer than those conversations about the Eagles after they lost on Thursday. Chase, they lost to the Giants. How about the Bills losing to Atlanta? Jordan Mailata said this, and this could give Eagles fans some hope and Eagles fans some good news, right? Some belief. Mailata on WIP on Tuesday night said the detail was not there in 2023. The detail was not there. The technique was not there, and now it is. He feels as though the Eagles are so close to figuring things out along the offensive line. They have the talent. They have the coaching. Now it's about doing it. And so with this Eagles team now and moving forward, of course I'm going to be critical. Of course I'm going to criticize when they play soft and scared against the Giants and they get annihilated by a team who they have no business losing to in that manner. But I do believe in the leaders of this football team. Because the leaders of this football team, the pillars of this organization, the coaches have been a part of a great era of Eagles football. It is very rare for this Eagles team, especially under Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts, to lose 2 games in a row. And so I think that they can get this thing on track. There's also good news here on this front. The Eagles might be 4-2. They might be feeling down about themselves, but I think that's kind of changed as Week 6 progressed. Now, after that Week 6 loss to the Giants, you're like, man, this is ugly. But then you look around the NFL. You watch all these games. And a takeaway I had, the NFC East, wide open. The NFC as a whole, wide open. There is not a great team across the NFL right now. You know who's playing the best football in the NFL right now? The Kansas City Chiefs. And they have 3 wins this year. You think they're panicking? No, they're not. And we saw the Eagles beat them playing a C-plus game. So the NFC East standings right now, the Eagles control their own destiny, ladies and gentlemen. The Commanders, 3-3, bad loss against Chicago, hard schedule coming up. Cowboys, 2-3-1, just lost to the Panthers. And they've got a pretty difficult rest of the schedule to go. The Giants are 2-4 on the road against the Broncos here in Week 7, and they have the hardest remaining schedule across the NFL the rest of the way. And then you look at the NFC standings. Wouldn't you take the Eagles in a win-or-go-home game against any of these teams? Especially when they're playing well, and they've shown under Sirianni that oftentimes outside of 2023, they can peak late. Buccaneers are the number 1 seed. Eagles beat them, didn't play their best game. Jalen Hurts didn't complete a pass in the second half. Eagles will play the Packers coming out of the bye. Can't wait for that matchup. The 49ers have lost Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. I'd like Philly to win that head-to-head. The Seahawks are 4-2. I like Philadelphia in that head-to-head. Eagles will play the Lions at home. That's going to be another good litmus test. They already beat the Rams. I'd take Philadelphia to beat the Falcons. They'll play the Bears on, Black Friday. And they play the Vikings this week. So not only do I like how the Eagles match up with these teams, right? But everything is so closely contested inside the NFC, where from the 1 seed to the 10 seed, there's a 2-game difference in the win column, but the NFC is wide open. So in Philadelphia, sometimes it can feel as though the sky is falling. That's part of the deal when you play in the city of brotherly love, with the passion that we exude, how much we care about this football team. Improvements definitely need to be made. But if those improvements are made, you get some players back from injury, you start playing some good football, this Eagles team can be scary. And you look at how they are on offense and defense. There is no question they need to be better on offense. 15th in points per game, 30th in yards per game, 28th in yards per play, 27th on third downs, number 1 in the red zone. I think they can get better. The talent is too good for this to continue. And if Kevin Patullo flops against Minnesota, look out for a coordinator change potentially. That could give them a spark. On defense, they're going to get healthier. You have Vic Fangio there, and you've got some young dogs who are a part of a team that won the Super Bowl and dominated Kansas City last year. 19th in points per game, 21st in yards per game, 17th in yards per play, 26th on third downs, 8th in the red zone. I believe in this football team. And it is there for the taking inside the NFC. Coming up next, though, are there some concerns about the Birds? That's some of the bad news that we need to get to because some player was yapping off in the locker room to Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. That's coming up just around the corner. But first, today's Philadelphia Eagles Now, made possible thanks to our friends at PrizePicks, the #1 fantasy sports app in America. You pick, predict, and play. It makes game day so much more fun. Download the PrizePicks app, create an account, use the code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. You can get your picks in less than 60 seconds. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. I know that you all know ball. So show me and turn your takes into cash with PrizePicks. They also have a couple of new features. It's the only app that offers stacks. You can pick the same player up to 3 times in the same lineup. You want to pick more on Jalen Hurts' pass yards, rush yards, and touchdowns? Now you can pick all of them in the same lineup only on PrizePicks. Follow other PrizePicks players directly on the app. Copy their lineups in one click, whether it's a friend, a celebrity partner, or just somebody whose picks you like. Hit the follow button and check out every lineup they create in the new feed tab on PrizePicks. Our 3-pick power play for Sunday. A.J. Brown more on the receiving yards. Justin Jefferson more on the receiving yards. Saquon Barkley more than a half rushing or receiving touchdown. Pick more, pick less. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. It's good to be right. All right, we move forward on the show, and I just want to pass along some NFL insider reporting on the current state of the Philadelphia Eagles, and obviously I have some takeaways there. And Dan Graziano, Jeremy Fowler posed this question. 2 questions, in fact. Should we be worried about the Eagles' offense? Are the Eagles worried? Dan Graziano up first. I lean yes on both questions, with the caveat that they're a 4-2 team and in a position to be able to fix their problems in time. But there are problems, and they need to be fixed. It's easy to default to, oh, there's locker room tension. But I really have never had the sense that Eagles players have any personal issues with one another. They all want to be better. And if there's tension, it's because the 2 straight losses and the urgency they all feel to get it turned around. And I agree with that. Like, I know that rosters and teams change year over year, but I've been around the Eagles, and one thing that stands out to me is the culture that Nick Sirianni's been able to build. It's the relationships that they have with one another. It's the belief and the confidence that they have in themselves and in one another. But when you lose 2 games in Philadelphia in a row, and you lose in ugly fashion, where you give up 18 unanswered fourth quarter points against the Broncos at home, and then you get punked by the Giants on the road, the chatter around your team, the pressure that you will feel is different in Philadelphia when that happens compared to like Miami and Jacksonville or Arizona. So also keep in mind that the Eagles are a ratings juggernaut, and talk shows are going to talk about the Eagles. What drives ratings? There's a saying in the news business. This is part of the reason why I'm out of the news business, and I'm talking sports. If it bleeds, it leads. They love negative stories because that demands attention. In mainstream media, they love negative stories. They love drama. Why? It drives ratings and it drives clicks. And when you have a big market team with a bunch of stars for a team that just won a Super Bowl, they know those segments are going to do well, whether it's YouTube, TV, radio. Philadelphia radio probably doesn't help matters. Sometimes I don't help matters, probably, right? But I'm doing my job in talking about this team. But it's amplified in the city of Philadelphia. Jeremy Fowler on the Eagles. I was at the game against the Giants on Thursday and definitely sensed concern. So this is a little bit of a change from Graziano. One player told me that this is starting to feel like the 2023 meltdown all over again, when Philadelphia lost 5 of its last 6 games, and the team needs to use this week to figure out things and avoid a full-blown repeat. Now, a couple of things on what Fowler said. I think there are differences between the 2025 Eagles and the 2023 Eagles. Here's something, too, as well. You get a juicy quote like that. Why are you waiting until almost a week later when he released that quote in an article on Wednesday when the game happened on Thursday? Isn't that something that you want to report like in the aftermath of that game when the Eagles are down and out and everybody's kicking them while they're down? Also, the differences between 2025 and 2023, I think, are stark. That collapse happened at the end of the year. This 2-game losing skid is happening right now. The first third of the year, now that it's an 18-week schedule, right? And so there's time to figure it out. Toward the end of the year, you're panicking because there wasn't a lot of time to figure it out because time wasn't on your side. But in 2023, the Eagles were a team that lost the Super Bowl in heartbreaking fashion. Here in 2025, this is a collection of players and an organization that actually won the Super Bowl. In 2023, Vic Fangio was not here. He was with Miami. Sean Desai and Matt Patricia were the defensive coordinators. Vic Fangio's here now. He's so much better than them. This defense was old then. This defense now is young. The offense then, not as talented as it is now. There was no Saquon Barkley then. This offense is in its prime currently, which is why I believe that they can get this ship steered in the right direction. More from Fowler. Despite Hurts' strengths, asking him to throw 33 times the way that they did on Thursday, not a winning formula. Well, Jeremy, that's what happens when you go down multiple scores too. Last season, he averaged 24 passing attempts. He struggles at times against the zone. And without the big run plays, it's harder to get those one-on-one matchups for A.J. Brown deep downfield. To that point, Brown's frustrations 2 weeks ago probably stem more from the realities of a limited pass game than any personality clashes. The product on the field is the root of any tension, perceived or otherwise, and that can change if the on-field problems are exacerbated. As for solutions, some in the locker room would like to see more play action. The Eagles use it 19.6% of the time. That's 29th in the NFL. I agree with that. Helps out the pass game and the run game. Perhaps we see more pre-snap movement and motion to open up more throwing windows, which might encourage Hurts to let it loose a little bit more. Hit the throws that are there and hit them on time. And going back to what Fowler said originally too, you figure out some of these on-field problems and everybody will be happy. I'd be pissed off too if I was on offense. Now, I do want to throw some cold water on this talking point that is proven to be a myth. The Eagles can't win if Jalen Hurts has to throw it too much. That's actually false. That's a myth. The Eagles are 20-5 when Jalen Hurts throws it 30-plus times. Here's the key. The key is having a balanced offense. And when you are balanced, you are less predictable. You are harder to defend. The pass game opens up the run game. The run game opens up the pass game. And right now, yes, the Eagles are predictable because of play calling and scheme and play designs, but they're also predictable because they're in second and longs, third and longs when you have to usually throw the football. You're predictable when you're committing penalties to put you behind the sticks. You start having more success and you're more efficient on first down to get the second medium, second and short, third and medium, third and short. Then you have more play calls at your disposal to be less predictable. So this is why I've said on offense, it's a collective failure. It's coaching, it's scheme, it's play calling, it's player execution. It's all of those things. Players need to play better. Coaches need to coach better. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Do you believe in the Philadelphia Eagles? Are you with me? Lock us in. Subscribe to the channel. Continue to support us. We appreciate you. And we'll catch you soon here on Eagles Now.